So I've been wanting to do a video, but my stove's a mess because, well, I rent this place and the owner don't care. So we got a old Warm Morning 523. I'll post a vintage ad and I'll show you what it looked like new with other models. But I recently installed a barometric damper, and that has dramatically improved the performance of the stove burning anthracite. I do also have bituminous, which is soft coal. Like, this will bust right up with a hammer. And anthracite bought in bags, because I've seen people commenting that they never seen coal in a bag before. But, you know, that's about as much work as I do, is carrying the bag from my truck to my house and then dumping it in this bucket. So we'll take a look. Here's the barrow. A little bit breezy out there. You know, it's keeping the draft. She's a little higher than 4. I got it set for 4. And when the breeze is blowing, she'll go up a little bit, which is normal. We'll take a peek. That flue's busted out. I mean, you can't find these bricks anymore. I mean, it still works. But that's basically a full load. I could load it right up to the top of the brick, but I'm not gonna. And anthracite coal, hard coal, has, look at all that smoke coming off of there. Nothing. Now, because somebody said something about, they didn't know there was different types on another group. So I could throw a piece of bituminous in there and then it'd smoke because it's high sulfur. So that's what this stove was designed to burn originally. Soft coal, bituminous. And those flues aid in bringing enough air over the fire from the bottom along with this. When you're running anthracite, this is closed. You want the top of the stove as tight as you can get it because you want all your air coming from under here. Now, that stove top temperature ain't right because the heat is down here. With coal, it stays low in the stove. And if you have a strong draft and chimney, it sucks it right up and your stove ain't going to perform. So to balance out your draft from your chimney, when the wind blows, it's going to, in theory, well, actually what happens here, in fact, is it will pull harder through here. What the barrow does is draw air from the room or inside of the house when the wind blows. So it's keeping the draft at a constant. Like, you can't use this burning wood because what will happen is creosote will build up on the back of that plate and cause the weight to be different, and it'll throw it off. So me personally, I drive truck. I don't have time to be going cutting a tree down, cutting it up, moving it, stacking it, saw maintenance, splitter maintenance, and everything else that goes along with everybody's free wood. When you consider your time, it's not free. So I'll pay $8.50 a bag, and I've burned about 1.25 tons. So a ton on a pallet is $450 where I get it, or a bag is $8.50. This is the wood I burn, if I burn any wood, and that's to get it going. I take 4 of these. 4 is all it takes to bring up a fire. Now, if you already have a coal fire in there, and it's already, it's dying down, you throw about 4 of these on there, get it charred, and then take your bucket and add about half the bucket, let it get ripping, another half the bucket, and then once that's ripping, a full bucket. Takes a little time. But when I when I went to replace put the barrow damper in there, I took out my MPD. That's what the MPD looks like. This would have been on the top side. That would have been on the bottom side. Look at all that creosote that could possibly, you know, catch my chimney on fire. There's nothing. I haven't cleaned it. That's the way it was when I pulled it out. The chimney is clean. And that pipe coming off the top of the stove, I got a 4-footer on top of that adapter and another 2-foot section, single wall pipe going up through a sheet metal roof. I don't have insulated pipe or anything like that. So that barometric damper is basically doing this for me when the wind blows. So it's not, you don't set it and, you know, when the wind blows, it's pulling really hard and you set it and then the wind stops. Well, then your fire's going to go out. You see what I'm saying? And people say, well, you're pulling the warm air out of your room. Well, not necessarily. The cost, they say, with a barometric damper installed, you'll save up to about 30% on your coal usage. I've had this in for a day, 24 hours, and I've noticed one heck of a difference from running a manual pipe damper, and that alone. I should have one between the stove and the barrow, but not enough room because of this adapter. So with a coal stove, you can run just a barrow, but if you're going to be burning wood, you're going to want to block that off and use your manual pipe damper however you use it. But eBay, guy last year bought it, $25 he was asking, offered him $15, sold it to me. Get you one of these, read up on it, how to use one, and set it. See where my draft's sitting? A little bit over 4. That damper up there set for 4. And the wind's it's just rocking a little bit, but when you get a nice strong wind, I've seen it come up this high and it'll come back down. So you just read the instructions, install it. I used a piece of NICOP brake line in there. It's in there probably that far inside the pipe, below the damper. So you can measure your draft, what's coming through your stove. Because if that wasn't there and you were running a manual pipe damper, whatever the draft going over the chimney, the wind will pull through your stove and burn your fuel up faster and pull the heat out. With the barrow, it don't do that. It pulls, if you got a hard draw, it pulls it from the room and keeps that draft where you need it. It balances it out. So if that explains it a little bit for people that are not familiar with how to burn coal, you can also visit that website. That's a forum. You have to search. You can search like your model number of stove, whatever it may be. and they have a tips and tricks. You know, I've been learning ever since 2009. I'm never going back to burning wood because it's just too easy to go buy a bag of that and dump it in. But there are people that are just, they're not in an area that has coal. So if you've been kicking around the idea, you know, get 3 or 4 bags and, you know, on a mild day where you really don't need to use the stove, try it out. But read first. Don't just dump it in there and treat it like wood, because it's not going to work. It's going to go out on you, or you're going to have poor performance, believe me. So if that helps anybody out, I'm not trying to put anybody down. You know, my place is not the ideal place to be making a video. That's why I've been hesitant on doing it, because look at the stove. Water comes down the chimney. My pipe looks like crap. So, you know, but I figure I've seen a lot of people. There's another stove forum too that they're having some trouble. And, you know, it is what it is. So I always like to help people. You know, I'm getting some pretty good heat right now. And sitting at that temperature, the whole place will be 70, 74 degrees on a day like today. What is it, like 35, 37 degrees right now? And that'll maintain it at that setting, I won't have to mess with it. I won't have to mess with it till tomorrow morning. So, don't be chucking wood in these old stoves because you break them bricks. If you have access to soft coal, that's what those corner blocks are for. Because anthracite wants all its air from underneath through there to burn. Bituminous, when you put it in there and it starts burning off all the gases, and everybody says that that's the stinky, it's stinky, is because they don't have enough over the fire air. When I burn bituminous coal, I'm in the Brookville Clarion Seam in western Pennsylvania. That is highly volatile, high sulfur. The farther east you go in Pennsylvania, the lighter the sulfur. So when you have high sulfur coal, you have to give it over the fire air to burn it off. And when I burn it, it smells like, if you all remembered 4th of July, lighting them little black pills that turned into them black snakes, that's what it smells like outside. It don't stink. I mean, it stinks to an extent if you're not used to that. But once you get them volatiles burnt down, you close that off, and then it will burn like that, and you'll get the blue dancing ladies like we got here with the anthracite. So there's not a lot of videos out there that explain this, in very good detail. Both types. There's people that are just experienced with anthracite, or there's people experienced with bituminous. So, look at that. You figure back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, in town and cities and stuff, these stoves and big coal furnaces, this was the primary source until they had the infrastructure to get natural gas. What does that remind you of? Give you one guess. There's no smoke coming out of my chimney. I guarantee you, with a wood stove, you're going to be seeing wisps of smoke. You will not see any smoke out of this after it's first ignited. You'll see a little bit. Looks like steam. Kind of like a high efficient wood stove looks when it's burning when you get it going or reload it. After that, no smell, no stink. Good to go. So hopefully that's helped somebody out, explain things a little more. If you can find these old coal stoves, these types, any types, them little pot bellies everybody calls them, they're not wood stoves. But you can burn wood in them. And people that have problems with the grates, because they're burning wood, getting hot spots, and it's melting the dang cast iron. A coal stove. So hopefully that helps some people. And, sorry for the mess and whatever, but I've explained the circumstances, and hopefully you all have a good rest of your weekend.